What's going on? It's your coach Trev Bucheri here, and we're talking nutrition deep dive today. We're going to go deep. And really what we're going to actually start is this. There's so many different, nutrition programs out there. It's like, where do you go? And if you're doing one thing, in many cases, I'm just saying I'm doing keto or whatever it might be. You feel if you talk to someone who's doing something different, it's almost like you're in a quarrel. Like you're like, well, why are you doing that? Why would you be doing that? It's really interesting because culturally it's shifting so much. Um, Really, where my beliefs are is the next step that someone takes towards, say, improving themselves is the right step. I don't care if it's keto, I don't care if it's vegan, I don't care, which are completely opposite end of the spectrum, and everywhere in between. Because the fact of the matter is that some things are going to basically turn some people on and some things are going to turn other people on. You know what I mean? Some people are going to look at keto and say, oh man, I could never do that. Some people would look at, vegetarian and say the same thing. Oh, I could never do that. I need my meat, whatever it may be. Whatever your approach is, if the intention is to actually, improve, man, that's the perfect approach. That's where I'm at right here. And then, the whole thing is once you really get into it, then I encourage you to start really looking into the science of it as well. That's kind of like the next step. It's like, okay, I'm really starting to improve and feel good here. I feel like I'm kind of stuck. Then it comes down into like, let's get into a little bit of details then, and then you can really start to look into the education of inside and outside transformation is really how I looked at it. It's like, well, it's one thing to actually look great on the outside, and say whatever your goals are. Wow, I lost the weight, or I'm at the body fat I want to be at, or whatever it might be, just from a visual standpoint, right? But then there's also the other side of physiologically inside. Am I like building myself up for longevity? You know what I mean? Or am I basically doing things inside that are kind of hindering me down to a cellular level, which is kind of almost making me more susceptible to, say, catching diseases and things like that. But that's just a quick rant in terms of, progression, on nutrition. Whatever your next step is the best step if your intention is growth. Let's start there. And I just want to just read over a section from my book here, Fit Mind plus Fit Body equals Fit Life. Boom, little plug. This is around, what the heck page is this on? 172, I believe. Yep. And it's my nutrition coaching approach. And just to kind of start here, and this is a more extended version of kind of what we just talked about here. So what I believe it's all about is meeting other people exactly where they are. It's not about changing people. It's about living by example in order to attract others to what you do, and then gaining an understanding of what they are looking for and why. So it's really both have to meet. Two of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, and also two of the most obvious if we are genuinely focused on helping others, are as follows. Number one, people want to be loved and appreciated for exactly who they are. Would I be right in saying that you'd prefer not to be judged? Same here. Like I said, this seems very obvious, but the question I was asking myself was, am I doing this? Am I judging other people? And this was really back in the day when I had that, where I was really just saying, man, here's what I'm doing, and I've done all this research, and I think it's right, and I think it's right, and other people are doing something different. The only reason I would have, judged, say, decades ago, was due to the fact that I had little confidence in what I was doing. That was the whole thing. It was like, you know what I mean? So that was my approach with it, but that's an approach that's happening all the time. So every single person has a different value structure. What is important to one person is not important to another. So who is right? Both of them. Every single person's value are equally important. And the only reason we tend to side more with some and not others is because we share similar values. If we are truly loving and appreciating others for exactly who they are, this means meeting others exactly where they are and without judgment. The second thing that I learned here is perception is reality. So what a person thinks and feels is their reality. So for me, it's all about helping other people break the same boundaries I've been able to break through in my life. And, if it's all about helping other people, then where does being right fit into the equation? The simple answer is that it doesn't. If we are out to help others, then we need to actually help others, period. We drop the ego and begin concentrating on what others need so that we can genuinely help them get what they are looking for. Every person has their own perspective and opinions stemming from their highest values. If we don't respect this in others, then the question is, are we really there to help them or just win an argument of who's right and who's wrong? If that's the case, then who really wins? The answer is no one. The potential client walks away with the same problem they walked in with, and we're unable to help that person. So, like we spoke about before, accepting another's perception is the perfect example of the platinum rule in action. This is the only authentic way to treat others as they want to be treated. To accept is to express love. So really quickly here, the platinum rule is super cool. So there's the golden rule, do unto others as we would have them do to us. And then there's the platinum rule, which is really do unto others as they would have done to them. So it's treat others how they want to be treated. And when we talk about that, it means caring enough about them to learn about what's most important to them in their lives, and then speak to them accordingly and respect them accordingly to those particular areas, and cater to those and nurture those. So, throughout my own personal development, I've now learned, I should say, to never criticize or try to force change with nutrition and exercise on anyone. However, if someone asks me for my opinion, I ask them if they want the sugar coated version or the real version that will actually help them. Then I give it to them. And putting it this way prepares people for the truth, which is generally about 180 degrees away from where most people are currently practicing and from what they want to hear. So I'm committed to teaching and putting people in a position to make their own choices. And I've learned that trying to actually convince others to do business with me is not a good situation. It's all about the amount of value that we're actually able to provide and the trust we're actually able to build with others to make people believe in and want our services. If we aren't providing that and we're basically trying to make a quick, conversion, then in my eyes, we're basically being a disservice to them and we don't deserve their business, period. My personal goal is to provide service that is useful, effective, consistent, simple, and approachable. And I wasn't always delivering this, however. In fact, looking back several years, literally almost 2 decades, I think it's safe to say to many, I was unapproachable. I remember finding myself criticizing what others were doing because it was different than what I was doing, and I thought I was right. I found myself hitting a stumbling block where I only wanted to actually teach what I was doing because I was convinced it was the best and only approach. And I thought that anything other than that was being done incorrectly, and I was wrong. This is when I made the connection of progression to nutrition and came to understand what I refer to now as the multi-tiers of betterness with nutrition. Any improvement is simply that. It's improvement. And the truth is that most people do not enjoy change and would love to continue doing exactly what they're doing while also getting the results that they want. The key for me is finding that happy medium and making sure to have something to provide people regardless of where they're actually looking to start. And what I have found is that we as people are always looking for more. When we reach a certain destination, we always want to know what's next. This is where I found my clients are much more open to the next step. And this is when I actually present, my next step to them, which is maybe say introducing plant-based or whatnot. If I tried forcing this and only this on them from day one, I wouldn't have been able to help that person. Even just thinking about that destroys me. And this is my own personal opinion. So this is a cool quote to finish up on here. So tough love and brutal truth from strangers are far more valuable than band-aids and half-truths from invested friends who don't want to see you suffer any more than you have. That's really interesting right there. So yeah, really my own personal experience here was I kind of went through an ego trip, where, early on I was like, hey, I only want to teach this stuff because I think this is right. And it's almost kind of like what I originally thought was, if I actually teach you this other stuff, I'm doing you a disservice because I believe it's wrong, but really what it ended up being was, well, I wasn't actually even giving myself a chance to work with that person, nor help that person, nor even give them the choice. You know what I mean? Once they started, trying their approach to, it wasn't giving anyone any choice. It was incorrect. And I wasn't really meeting people where they were. And the reason is because I didn't have the confidence in what I was doing. I was uncertain in it. And I wouldn't have told you that at the time. Hands down, I wouldn't have. But the fact remains is that my certainty in what I was doing was questioned. When I saw these other approaches out there, and I didn't have, as much knowledge as say I do now, or I didn't have as much say class maybe as I did now, or intelligence or whatever emotional intelligence or whatever you want to call it. That was a really great learning experience for me. And it was a great growth experience because when I realized, wow, I'm just not actually able to help those people. It's not about what they're doing. It's about that they're doing something. And that was really it right there. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And now I really want to head over to page 181. I'm going to bring you guys through the quick start nutrition lessons that are in this book here. All right, you guys, so here we go. So Fit Mind plus Fit Body equals Fit Life Nutrition Plan. So in my mind, this book would not be complete without giving you a plan of action for those who are ready to get moving forward right now. Below, you'll find two simple Fit Mind plus Fit Body equals Fit Life quick start nutrition programs. One program includes animal products and the other program is a full plant-based nutrition program. These are by no means your perfect, complete solution, but more meant as a simple guide enabling you to get started as soon as you desire without having to wait. So let's take a look at these bad bears here. Now, I will say, could these be used as like literally a straight up, go-to nutrition program complete? Yes, they totally could be. And really for the way that I eat, it kind of is. The way that I eat is extremely simple, really just because it doesn't bother me, and I don't have like the desire to, put all spices in and make it beautiful and taste amazing. But you could with the exact same ingredients, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I just don't really have the skill set nor the desire to build this skill set. Now, I love the end product of it, but say 9 times out of 10, if I'm eating 10 times out of 10 clean, 10 times out of 10, I'm eating clean every single time. 9 of those times at least is going to be very, very basic. And then that 10th time, which is also super clean, might have a little bit of zing to it, so to speak. So that being said, yes, this doesn't have any recipes to it, but here is like your foundation. This is your foundation that you can build from. And if you've got skill, say, hey, I know how to use cumin and spices and all these other, herbs and things like that, then man, you're going to be, really just having at it here with this structure. But here it is. So this one here is, okay, so this is the animal products based. So of course you have your proteins right over here. Fit Mind plus Fit Body equals Fit Life Quick Start Nutrition Program. So the food choices. So every food item counts as 1 serving below. And that's what I've put here. So we have the categories of fruits, we have veggies, we have complex carbohydrates, and we have proteins here. One thing I will point out is that this is a typo right here where it says 3/4 to 1 cup of cooked what, you say? Cooked rice is what I'm talking about here. And then everything else is just self-explanatory, really. And really what this is this is a 6-meal structure with this. And what it is it's going to be basically just an outline of what you're going to eat at each of those particular meals and the time you're going to be eating them at. 6 meals per day structure. All right. And the idea behind this is really eating every 2.5 hours. And again, using the above chart to choose your foods. That's really it. It's extremely simple. So 3 to 5 servings of fruit is what we're looking at here. And I know that sounds like a lot, but again, we're getting our main amount of calories from this. So it starts right here. Boom, go to your fruits right here. Now I will say, when I say 3 to 5 servings of fruit and 1 serving of vegetables, how I tend to do this, just as a quick tip for you, is, man, I see smoothie all day with that. I'll usually start with a couple bananas. 2 bananas is like my base. And again, if you're going to be making smoothies, I highly recommend starting with bananas because it gives you a really nice, creamy smoothie. And without that, you're not going to be getting that. So I usually go like banana and say blueberries and strawberries. So 2 bananas, I'll do 2 cups of blueberries and a cup of strawberries. There's my 5 servings of fruit. Add some ice and some water in there, and then as I'm blending it, I'll throw a couple handfuls of fresh spinach in there as well. So you can see that that's actually one of the choices right there. Boom, you're good for meal 1. 1 serving of protein, 1 serving of vegetables, and you can do the rest right from there. So there is your whole program done for you right here. Protein shake, meal number 4, 1 scoop vegan protein or whey protein. Again, this is a animal product based version right here. So you can use either one. I'll say that our vegan protein, our plant-based protein, to me tastes way better than our whey protein. So keep that in mind as well. The protein's gonna do the exact same thing for you. And then of course you get 2 to 3 servings of fruit on that. So it's really cool because, for this option, I've seen, people drink their protein shakes where you'll take the protein, put it into a container, put water into it, shake it up, drink that down, and then with the 2 to 3 servings of fruit, make a fruit smoothie and have that as well. So there's so many different variations that you can do here. When you get down to the complex carbohydrates, such as meal 3 here, 2 to 4 servings of fruit and 1 serving of complex carbohydrates. If you're like, man, I'd like to put some different herbs in my spice or in my rice or whatever, or I'd like to put some seasoning on my cooked potatoes. I'm going to actually put sliced potatoes and put them in the oven and put some seasoning on them. I don't even know what I would actually recommend you put on that, but that sounds awesome and that's completely acceptable. Just don't put the olive oil on top of that. You know what I'm saying? You really don't need it. You can even sprinkle some water on top, literally, and it'll actually help to brown it a little bit. So there you have it with that particular version. Now let's move it on here. So here's our plant-based. So this is the Quick Start plant-based nutrition program. Same deal. Now the food choices, every food item counts as one serving, same thing, every 2.5 hours using the above chart for our food. Here's your 6-meal structure right here. Now the protein shake, you can see it does say vegan protein specifically, and we're going the fruit here. I know the other one said 2-3 servings, but the reason it says differently is because of the mix of the calories throughout the rest of the day in meal 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 here. And the format works exactly the same. 1 to 2 servings of fruit, 1 serving of complex carbs, and 1 serving of vegetables right here. So great, you get your fruits from here, you get your complex carbs right from here. And again, this wants to say cooked rice, any one of them but white. So we're looking for like a brown rice here, and then your 1 serving of vegetables. Now let's talk about rules really quick. We're talking about eating every 2.5 hours. So here is the deal. If you've actually eaten meal 1 and you can't get to meal number 2 without being starving, you're like, oh my gosh, it's been an hour and a half and I'm starving right now, I cannot make it another hour, then that just means you ate too little the previous meal. So you're going to basically increase each of these servings slightly. You want to keep them even proportionately, but increase them slightly to the point where you can now get to that 2.5 hour period. And then you're good to go, and then rinse and repeat that. On the contrary, if you basically ate meal 1 and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full, it's 2.5 hours, I can't even think about eating right now. That means you may have eaten a little bit too much that previous meal. So again, dial it down just slightly, each of the food components right there until you can get to that 2.5 hour mark. And you want it to be like you've been hungry for about a half an hour, not starving for half an hour, but you're like, oh man, okay, I'm starting to get hungry here. Get that feel for about a half an hour, roughly about that, 20 minutes. And then you're basically hitting those timing perfectly right there. And that's keeping the system revved. So there you have it. We went over my nutrition coaching approach, which is really just an outlook on really my own personal growth with nutrition and kind of where I've brought it to and what I've been able to grow with it and kind of build with my own certainty on my approach. And also the Quick Start nutrition programs, both the plant-based and also an animal product version right there. So hope you got a ton of content out of this and you're able to utilize it, put it into action, and get some personal growth with it, get some development with it, and get you closer to your goals. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I appreciate you. It's your coach, Trev Bucheri here. You have an incredible rest of your day. Take care.